We found it by accident. Of course we did. The greatest discoveries are never planned. This one happened on a dead moon, orbiting a gas giant nobody wanted. The moon didn't even have a proper name. Just a designation, LG 774-B. A boring gray rock in a forgotten corner of the galaxy. Our survey ship was there on a milk run, just updating star charts and checking for mineral deposits. The probe came back with strange readings, or rather, a lack of them. One specific canyon seemed to be a hole in reality. It absorbed every sensor scan we threw at it. So we sent down a team. We expected a unique rock formation, maybe some kind of radiation sink. We did not expect to find something beautiful. The canyon floor was coated in a fine layer of dust. It shimmered. Under the ship's landing lights, it pulsed with a soft, internal rainbow. It moved like fine sand in a gentle breeze. Except there was no breeze. The moon had no atmosphere. The dust swirled on its own, a silent, slow-motion ballet. We scooped some up. It felt like nothing. It had no weight, no temperature. It just rested in the containment jar, a captive galaxy of impossible colors. We thought it was just a geological quirk, a pretty, worthless powder on a useless moon. We had no idea what we had found. We truly had no idea. We logged it as a curiosity and moved on. We were young. We were foolish. We carried home the end of the universe in little glass jars. Back on our home world, the dust became a minor sensation. Not with the public, not yet. But with our scientists. The sample from that gray moon defied every law of physics we knew. Our greatest minds gathered to study it. They were convinced it would unlock new frontiers. They thought it was the key to faster-than-light travel, or maybe unlimited energy. The truth was far stranger. They subjected the dust to every test imaginable. They heated it to the temperature of a star's core. It did not react. It just shimmered. They froze it to absolute zero. It did not change. It just swirled lazily in its containment field. The colors never dimmed. The motion never ceased. It was perfectly, infuriatingly constant. They bombarded it with radiation. They blasted it with hard light. They tried to measure its mass, its charge, its atomic structure. The results always came back the same. Null. It had no mass. It had no charge. It had no structure we could identify. It was as if our instruments were looking at nothing at all. But we could see it right there. A beautiful, shimmering nothing. Our experts were baffled. They wrote papers filled with complex equations and wild theories. They called it a quantum paradox. A localized breakdown of physical law. One scientist, in a moment of frustration, called it the universe's most beautiful error message. We had found something that, according to our own star science, should not exist. And we still thought it was just a fascinating puzzle, a cosmic riddle to be solved. When science fails to find a purpose for something, commerce often steps in. Since the dust was proven to be completely inert, harmless, an entrepreneur had a brilliant idea. If it does nothing, then it can't hurt anyone. And it was very, very pretty. So we started selling it, not as some grand scientific discovery, but as a novelty item, a souvenir from the stars. We went back to LG 774-B. We mined the dust by the ton. It was easy work. It had no weight, so transport costs were hilariously low. We packaged it in tiny glass jars. We sealed it in globes with little spaceships inside. We even tried weaving it into jewelry, but it wouldn't stick to anything. It just drifted away if you weren't careful. For a few years, it was the perfect gift, a little piece of impossible physics on your desk. People would shake the jars and watch the colors swirl. It was mesmerizing. For about 5 minutes. Then the novelty wore off. The dust never changed. It never did anything. It just sat there, a constant, silent shimmer. It became the ultimate symbol of a boring afternoon. The fad lasted less than a decade. The toys were forgotten. The jars gathered dust on shelves, a sad irony. Warehouses were filled with unsold inventory. The beautiful, impossible dust from a dead moon became junk. It was another failed product, another get-rich-quick scheme that had run its course. We had commodified a cosmic mystery. And then we got bored of it. Humanity has always been good at creating trash, and we have always been good at finding new places to put it. As our civilization expanded, so did our garbage piles. Eventually, we came up with a very final solution. We began launching our most useless waste into dying stars. It was clean. It was efficient. It was a poetic way to get rid of things nobody wanted. The shimmering dust was at the top of the disposal list. It was officially declared worthless. It had no scientific value. It had no industrial purpose. Its commercial appeal was long dead. It was just taking up space in warehouses across a dozen systems. So we began the Great Universal Disposal, a massive, coordinated effort to clean house. We gathered it all. Every last souvenir jar, every forgotten snow globe, every massive shipping container filled with the raw, shimmering powder. We loaded it onto automated barges. We set their courses for the nearest unstable stars. Red giants in their final, bloated stages. Perfect cosmic incinerators. We watched the launches on the news feeds. It was a feel-good story. A tale of civic responsibility and interstellar sanitation. We were tidying up our corner of the galaxy. We cheered as the barges plunged into the stellar fires. The dust vanished into the fusion inferno. We never once stopped to think about what we were throwing away. We just felt clean. We felt organized. We had taken the greatest mystery we had ever found, and we had thrown it in the trash. Centuries passed. We forgot all about the dust. We forgot about the dead gray moon. Humanity thrived. We spread to new worlds. We built wonders. We thought we were the masters of our destiny. We believed we were alone in the vast, silent dark. We were wrong. They arrived without warning. There was no grand announcement, no fleet of warships dropping out of hyperspace. One moment, the edge of our solar system was empty. The next, they were there. A fleet of ships so vast they blocked out the stars. They did not look like ships. They looked like pieces of the void given form, dark, silent, and impossibly old. Their forms were organic. They had no visible engines, no weapon ports, no lights. They were like great star-born creatures, sleeping in the darkness. Our defense systems screamed alerts. Our fleets scrambled to intercept. We broadcast every greeting, every warning, in 1,000 languages. We were met with absolute silence. The ships just sat there, at the very edge of our territory, perfectly still. They made no move to attack. They made no move to communicate. They just watched. The silence was more terrifying than any declaration of war. It was the silence of something ancient and powerful. Something that had no need to hurry. Something that was waiting for us to understand. Our military commanders were in a state of controlled panic. We sent our fastest ships on reconnaissance missions. They approached the silent fleet with their shields at maximum. The scans they sent back were terrifying. The energy readings from those dark ships were off the charts. Each one pulsed with the power of a small sun. They could have vaporized our entire defense fleet with a single thought. But they did nothing. our ships flew close enough to see the strange, shifting patterns on their hulls. The aliens did not react. They did not power up weapons. They did not even raise shields. They simply floated there, ancient and immense. Their inaction was a weapon in itself. It bred a special kind of fear in us, a fear of the unknown, a fear of a power so vast it felt no need to display itself. We started to realize this was not an invasion force. It was something else. Their posture was not one of aggression. It was one of extreme caution, as if they were afraid of startling us, as if they were the ones who were in danger. That thought was more chilling than any threat. What could possibly frighten beings with such power? Beings who commanded ships that were worlds unto themselves. The answer, of course, was us. Somehow, we were the monster in their story. We, the loud, clumsy, short-lived creatures of matter. We terrified them, and we had absolutely no idea why. This mystery was deeper and darker than the void their ships occupied. After weeks of nerve-shredding silence, they finally responded. A single focused beam of information was directed at our command hub. It was not a language we knew, but it was pure mathematics. The universal tongue. It was a peaceful greeting and an invitation to talk. We accepted immediately. They would not meet us in person. They refused to send a shuttle. They would not even allow our ships to dock. They insisted on communicating through a projection, an avatar made of pure light and energy. It appeared on the bridge of our flagship, a shimmering, vaguely humanoid shape that crackled with contained power. It called its people the Elder, Ones. The being's tone was not what we expected. There was no arrogance, no condescension. Instead, there was a strange, deep reverence. It spoke to us as if we were something sacred, something fragile and infinitely precious. It asked bizarre questions. It wanted to see our historical archives. It asked about our early space exploration, about our waste disposal protocols from centuries ago. We were confused. We thought it might be a trick, a way to gauge our technological level. Or maybe they were just truly eccentric. We answered their questions cautiously. We told them about our history, our triumphs, our mistakes. We told them about mining useless moons and selling silly souvenirs. We had no idea that these trivial details were the reason they had crossed the galaxy to find us. The energy being we called the Envoy listened patiently. When we finished our story, it showed us theirs. The projection changed. It displayed a star map of their empire. It was vast. It spanned thousands of star systems, a glowing web of light and civilization, a testament to a species that had existed for millions of years. Then, the envoy showed us a more recent map. The web of light was full of holes, dark patches that were growing. Entire clusters of stars had gone dark. We asked if it was a war, a plague, a natural disaster. The envoy explained that it was none of those things. It was something they called the Shimmering Blight. The projection zoomed in. We saw one of their worlds, a planet made of swirling energy and crystalline structures. It was breathtakingly beautiful. Then, we saw the Blight. It started at the edge of the world, a creeping, glittering film. It looked like a patch of oil on water, shimmering with that same impossible rainbow of colors. It moved slowly, inexorably. Where it passed, there was nothing left. The energy cities, the crystalline forests, they were not destroyed. They were unmade, erased from existence. The Blight consumed everything that was complex, everything that was energy. It was a quiet, relentless apocalypse. And as we watched the recording, a cold, sickening feeling of recognition began to dawn on us. We had seen that shimmer before, that impossible rainbow, that silent, weightless drift. The envoy showed us a close-up image of the blight. It was composed of trillions of tiny, swirling particles, each one a miniature galaxy of color, each one a perfect echo of the dust we had found on that dead gray moon. The connection slammed into us with the force of a physical blow. A collective gasp was heard across our entire civilization. Our souvenir, our novelty gift, our worthless, annoying trash. It was the stuff of their nightmares. A cosmic horror that was devouring their ancient empire one star system at a time. We finally understood their fear. We finally understood their reverence. They believed we were the creators of the dust, or perhaps its masters. They had tracked the blight's origin point across galaxies, across uncountable light years. The trail did not lead to some dark god or cosmic monster. It led to us. It led to a species that put the universe's most terrifying substance into snow globes and sold them for 10 credits apiece. The silence that followed this revelation was profound. We looked at our hands, at our simple, solid bodies. We were beings of matter, crude, simple, and dense. The elder ones were beings of complex energy. The dust passed through us like we weren't even there. But to them, it was the ultimate poison, a solvent for reality itself. We had weaponized entropy without even knowing it. We had to tell them the truth, the humiliating, idiotic truth. We explained that we weren't the masters of the dust. We were just the janitors who had thrown it out. We showed them our corporate archives, the marketing plans for the galaxy globe, the records of the great universal disposal. We proved to them that we had launched almost all of it into stars. Their reaction was not anger. It was despair. They had come to us seeking gods, and they had found galactic-scale litter bugs. But then, a new emotion bloomed, a fragile, desperate hope. We had thrown almost all of it away. Not all of it. There had to be some left. A forgotten crate in a warehouse, a lost shipment, a souvenir that had slipped behind a couch. And so began the most frantic search in human history. We weren't looking for a lost treasure. We were looking for our own garbage. We sent teams to every old colony, every decommissioned space station, every asteroid scrapyard. We offered immense rewards for even a single grain of the old souvenir dust. The public archives were opened. People searched their attics and basements. For months, we found nothing. It seemed our ancestors had been terrifyingly thorough in their cleanup. We had been so eager to get rid of the worthless stuff. The elder ones waited in silence, their empire shrinking with every passing day. They watched us tear our civilization apart, looking for a single jar of our own forgotten trash. The hope was beginning to fade. Then we got a hit, a signal from a remote mining outpost in the Perseus Arm. An old prospector, a man in his 90s, had contacted the authorities. He said he had something we might be looking for. His grandfather had been one of the original surveyors of LG 774-B. As a keepsake, he had kept one of the first prototypes, a simple snow globe with a tiny model of their ship inside. He had kept it for over 3 centuries, a family heirloom. We sent our fastest ship to retrieve it. The old man gave it to us freely. He said he always knew it was special. We didn't have the heart to tell him we'd been using them as paperweights. We transported the globe back to our main research facility with the care usually reserved for a king's crown. The elder ones watched via remote feed. We placed the globe in a shielded test chamber. At their direction, they sent a small probe through a micro wormhole. It was a drone, they explained, imbued with a tiny fragment of their own complex energy signature. The drone approached the glass globe. It passed its manipulator arm through the glass, a simple feat for their technology. The metal arm touched the swirling, shimmering dust. Nothing happened. The metal was simple matter. It was beneath the dust's notice. But then the drone's energy field, its life force, came into contact with the particles. The drone did not explode. It did not melt. It simply ceased to be. It was unwritten from the universe. We had found it, a weapon that only kills gods. The effect on the Elder Ones was immediate and profound. Their fleet, which had been holding at the edge of our system, retreated. They pulled back by a full light year. Their awe was palpable, even across the vastness of space. They had witnessed proof of what they had only theorized. We held the power to unmake them, to erase their very essence from reality. They broadcast a message, not just to us, but to every advanced civilization in their communication network. The message was simple. It was a warning and a proclamation. It described humanity. It described our strange immunity to the great cosmic blight. And it described the power we now held. They gave us a new name, a title that would echo through the galaxy for eons. They called us the Keepers of the Silence. The silence was the great nothing, the final state of entropy that the dust represented, and we were its keepers. The name was meant as a sign of respect, of reverence. But to our ears, it sounded like a threat. It painted us as a race of cosmic executioners, the janitors of the universe. Overnight, our place in the galaxy was rewritten. We were no longer the plucky newcomers, the curious apes who had just figured out star travel. We were a dreadful power, a civilization that could threaten the oldest and most powerful beings in existence. And we had achieved this status not through wisdom or strength, but by being too primitive to be noticed by the universe's ultimate weapon. Power is a strange thing. We had never sought it on this scale. But now we had it. The single snow globe became the most heavily guarded object in human history. It was our shield, our ultimate guarantee of sovereignty. No energy-based species would ever dare to threaten humanity. Not when we could retaliate by simply existing near them with our new weapon. But this power was a terrifying burden. The news spread. Other star-born empires, beings of light and plasma and thought, learned of our existence. They sent envoys, cautious, filtered messages from a safe distance. They all wanted to know our intentions. They all wanted to be assured that we would not unleash the silence upon them. Our own internal politics became a nightmare. The debates in our Grand Senate were no longer about trade tariffs or colonial charters. They were about the ethics of decreation. We had factions arguing for preemptive strikes, for using the dust to carve out a human empire. Others argued for its complete destruction. Many more argued for a position of galactic neutrality, of armed isolationism. We were a young species. We had barely mastered our own planet. Now we were forced to debate the fate of beings millions of years our senior. We held the power of ultimate annihilation in a glass ball, a power we had found by chance and barely understood. It was a responsibility that threatened to crush our civilization from the inside out. We had never asked for this. We had just been cleaning out our attic. In their gratitude and their fear, the Elder Ones shared everything they knew, their science, their history, their philosophy. They hoped that by educating us, we would become wise enough to wield our terrible power responsibly. Their knowledge was vast. It stretched back to the dawn of our own universe, and it contained a theory about the dust that chilled us to our core. They did not believe the dust was from our reality. Its refusal to interact with our physical laws was the ultimate proof. It was not matter. It was not energy. It was something else entirely. Their star science suggested it was a remnant, an echo from a cosmos that existed before our own, a universe that had run its course and died. They theorized that this previous universe was not like ours. It was not dominated by crude matter and simple energy. It was a universe of incredibly complex, energy-based life. A universe of beings like them, but perhaps even older, even grander. And for some reason, that universe had failed. It had collapsed. It had died. The dust, the silence, was all that was left. It was the final, irreducible ash of a trillion souls. The last remnant of a creation that had been unmade. It had somehow leaked through into our own new, young universe. A seed of finality planted at the beginning of our own time. We were not just holding a weapon. We were holding a ghost. The ghost of everything that has ever been. This final revelation changed everything. It settled our debates. It ended our internal strife. We looked at the shimmering dust in its containment field. We were not looking at a weapon anymore. We were looking at a tombstone. The tombstone of an entire reality. To use it as a tool for conquest or defense felt like a profound desecration. We had a choice. We could use this cosmic ghost to make ourselves kings of the galaxy. We could become the Reapers, holding a threat of non-existence over anyone who displeased us. Or we could choose a different path, a harder path, a lonelier path. Our decision was unanimous. We sent a message to the Elder Ones and to all the other star-born races. We told them of our choice. We would not weaponize the dust. We would not use it. We would not even study it any further. We would simply protect it. We would become its guardians. We took the snow globe and the few other specks we had found to a secret place. A world built deep in the void between galaxies. A fortress of solitude. There we would stand watch, not as kings, not as conquerors, but as custodians, keepers of the final end. We accepted our new name, but we gave it our own meaning. We were the keepers of the silence, the lonely guardians of the great nothingness. Our duty was to ensure that the ghost of one dead universe would never be used to create another.